J. Frank Hickey was one of the first serial killers in the United States. He's known as the Postcard Killer because he sent postcards in the mail to police and parents of his victims. I'm going to tell you the story of the Postcard Killer through old postcards and tell you more about his heinous acts. Hickey was born in 1865, possibly in Norwich, Connecticut. I wasn't able to confirm that. That's where his brother was born. And he was either born there or in Lowell, Massachusetts. Hickey's mother died when he was only 4, and he would later confess to a psychiatrist that his older brother had tried to murder him when he was only 11, and he also claimed that his father physically abused him, and his father died when Hickey was 12. When they were age 15, Hickey and his brother moved to Lowell, Massachusetts to live with their stepmother. And that same year in 1880, Hickey was expelled from Lowell High School for stealing, and that's really where his troubles with the law began. So just 2 years later in Lowell, he first killed, and his first victim was a coworker who worked at a drugstore with him in Lowell. Now, he murdered the coworker with laudanum or opium tincture. It's also called. His death was not deemed suspicious and was ruled a stroke. So he got away with that one. And police would only learn about it later when he confessed to the murder. So his second murder occurred on December 10th, 1902, when he lured a newspaper boy, Michael Kruk, to Central Park in New York City. And Hickey said it was Central Park in the winter, and it was snowing. Here's an image of it, Central Park with snow, and here's an image of Central Park at night. So he told the boy that he would buy all of his newspapers if Michael followed him to Central Park. And it was there that Hickey strangled the boy. Now, they weren't able to catch him. The coroner ruled that the boy was strangled by some person or persons unknown to this jury. Hickey would later confess to police in Buffalo that he killed Kruk, and this was just a short time later. So he was an alcoholic, and this was in one of his drunken states. He went and told the police that he had killed a boy in New York City. A detective came up from New York City to investigate when he was notified by the Buffalo police, but by the time the detective got there, Hickey had sobered up, and he told the detective that he had just read about it in the newspaper, and he says crazy things when he's drunk. The detective just said, all right, and went back to New York City, and no arrest was made. So his third murder occurred sometime later, on October 12th, 1911. And this is at the height of the golden age of postcards. Hickey was working as a steel plant supervisor in Lackawanna, New York. So here's the steel company there. And Lackawanna Steel Company office, West Seneca, New York. This is from shortly before 1911. The town changed their name from West Seneca to Lackawanna, but that's where Hickey was working. And he noticed a 7-year-old boy, Joey Joseph, playing at his father's store. So later, when the boy was playing with a friend in the street near his house, Hickey told the boys to come over. He gave Joey a couple pennies to go buy some candy for he and his friend. And then the boys returned. The second boy left, and Hickey would later say that he wanted to kill the second boy, and quote, but his instinct saved him. So Joey Joseph was still there. Hickey took Joey by the hand and led him to an outhouse behind a saloon where he molested Joey and strangled him to death. So after those murders, Hickey was sending postcards to the parents and also to the police chief. This image here is one that was sent to a police chief in Lackawanna. And I'm just going to read it to you. So Joseph, which is his full name, but he went by Joey, will be found in the bottom of a water closet with 3 seats back of the saloon near Doyle's on Ridge Road. A drunk, crazed brain done the deed, and remorse and sorrow for the parents is bringing results that will soon come to an end. The demon whiskey will then have one more victim, making 4 in all. Drag the closet with the 3 seats. So it's a very interesting message there. He alludes to having 2 victims previously and another one in the future. They published images of that postcard on the front page of the newspaper. This newspaper doesn't have the postcard, but here's what newspapers looked like after they caught Hickey. You can see they have the boys there on the front page, Joey Joseph and his friend, and then J. Frank Hickey there on the right. But this was a big deal, obviously, in Buffalo around that time with how disturbed the man was. So one of Hickey's former supervisors at the steel mill recognized his handwriting and went to the police, and that's how the police were able to catch him. There is another murder that's potentially connected to Hickey. This is a little bit earlier in 1911. He was at a religious facility for alcoholics Keswick Colony in Whiting, New Jersey, and I'm going to show you that here. So here's a view of the lake and the house, and here's a closer view of the house, and this is around the same time that Hickey would have been staying there. So Carrie Turner, a 37-year-old woman, was killed in Lakewood, New Jersey in April of 1911, and Hickey was arrested by the police for vagrancy a day before in Lakewood, and the killer of Turner was never found, so it's thought there could be a connection there, but again, that case has never been solved. Now, they obviously recognized his handwriting and arrested him after that, and his trial began a short time later. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, so he was charged with first-degree murder in the case of Joey Joseph, but found guilty of second-degree murder. 2 of the jurors thought he was insane and should not be executed. He was sentenced to life in prison on November 29th, 1912. And when he was on his way to the prison, there's this very chilling quote that he gave newspaper men that were riding with him. Hickey said, "I think I'm a queer man with a queer mind. I don't think there's a man like me in the country. The doctors say that I will be examined and experimented with at Auburn. Auburn, New York is the prison he was headed to. I have no conscience. I never felt that I did wrong in killing. These things passed out of my life as soon as they happened. I would have killed a little Italian boy on the day I murdered Joey Joseph, but his instinct saved him, and that's Joey Joseph's friend that had left. I have attempted to kill 3 boys in the last 3 months, 1 in Lawrence last August, 1 at Quincy, and 1 at Boston. It would not have been long before the killing of boys was a daily occurrence." So that's Hickey right after he's been sentenced to life in prison on his way to serve his sentence. Just a very chilling quote, and I'm going to show you images of the prison here in Auburn. That's the front prison gates. This is the mess hall where Hickey would have eaten his meals. You can see it's a very large state prison, so probably had a lot of inmates there. And these are what the cell blocks looked like in the Auburn State Prison where Hickey stayed. You know, it looks like 4 floors, very large place. Hickey died on May 8th, 1922 in Auburn, New York, so I believe that would have made him 57 years old or close to it. And that's the story of the Postcard Killer. So if you like hearing about that, and if you want to hear about other true crime stories told through postcards, let me know. Thank you so much for watching.